Oh, I,
Waiting for Bill.
all right, pause. We can do a practice round of the Pledge of Allegiance if you really want to. I was looking and I forgot that Bill had left to go do that. Are you okay if we start with the pledge?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, Doc.
Easily forgotten.
I was counting chairs and people, and I somehow managed to count Paula twice because she was getting set up over there.
Because I have this big coat.
Yes.
I look like you have a big coat.
Okay. Oh, I did that backwards too. I guess it's been a while since we've been here. Can we have a roll call?
Mrs. Bennett?
Present.
Mrs. Eckert?
Here.
Mr. Franco?
Here.
Mrs. Goebel?
Here.
Dr. Probola?
Here.
Mr. Widener?
Here.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Here.
Mrs. Arnold?
Here. We had a few executive sessions since we were last in front of you all. On January 30th, the Transportation Committee met in executive session to review a confidential situation regarding a specific person. On January 31st, the Human Resources Committee met with Superintendent Doherty to review his half-year performance review with him. And we met in executive session tonight before this meeting for a couple issues. One was for personnel matters regarding confidential information about specific staff. Another was to discuss pending litigation or potential litigation. Another was to discuss specific litigation regarding George Uhas versus TASD, the case from January of 2022. And we also discussed Act 93 collective bargaining agreement strategy. And with that, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Doherty for his opening remarks.
Great, thank you so much. I'm so excited to share an update with our board about our high school band performing in Disney last week. As many of the board and some of the community even know, I took a couple vacation days to go down and support our students. It was so exciting to see our students performing and marching down Main Street right in front of Cinderella's castle in the Magic Kingdom. It was picture perfect. I think I was actually more excited than the students. Like, I was cheering when I saw them. It was special. I was beaming with pride. It was such a great experience for our students, and I was thrilled to be able to see them play and march for the tens of thousands of people, of park visitors that lined the parade route. I'd like to thank Wyoming County Press Examiner reporter Bob Baker, who's here for such great coverage of the band's Disney performance in today's paper. The pictures were great. We had a whole spread. You know, this trip and the band's performance is another really good example of the dynamic things that the students in this district get to experience. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock is a scheduled early dismissal for all of our students due to second semester parent-teacher conferences. I encourage all of our parents and guardians to come to our schools either tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening to meet with their child's teachers. And Friday is a professional development day for our teaching staff, so there will be no school for our students. Last evening, I went to Greater Nanticoke Area High School to see our girls basketball team in their first round game against Nanticoke in the District 2 playoffs. Unfortunately, they did not come out victorious, but I want to congratulate them on a very nice season. You know, they're a good bunch of kids. They're just a great group of student athletes. I'm hopeful for a large community turnout tomorrow evening. Our boys basketball team will be hosting a district playoff game against Hanover area. The game will tip off at 7 o'clock. So please consider coming out to support our Tigers tomorrow night. This upcoming Saturday, both our divers and our wrestlers will compete in district championship action. The divers will be competing in the district championships at the Wilkes-Barre CYC, and our wrestlers will be in the district championship action at the new Wilkes-Barre Area High School. So good luck to all of our teams and our athletes in their quest to secure a district title. I'm very excited to share with everyone that I was very inspired by Mr. Bosher. So I bought myself a golf cart to zip around campus. I want everybody to know that it wasn't purchased with any school district funds. I bought it myself, and I'm looking forward to jumping into my new cart to visit our schools. It'll be easy to recognize because it's orange. So when you see me, I'll hit the horn and wave. But I'm very excited. Thank you, Mr. Bosher, for inspiring me. As I told my wife, my recent purchase is both simultaneously ridiculous and awesome. And she just kind of rolled her eyes at me. Finally, tonight I'd like to mention, I guess this is a little sad and happy. At the same time, I'd like to mention the upcoming retirement of 2 current school administrators. School principals Debbie Johnson, who's sitting right over there, and Todd Bosher will both retire at the end of this school year. Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Bosher are both long-term, dedicated, and hardworking employees, and I want to thank them both for their years of service to the students and community of Tunkhannock. You know, both Debbie and Todd always, and since I've been here, it's obvious they prioritize the need of the students that they serve, and they'll both be, missed. I've come to have a really close relationship with Todd, and I would just like to take a moment to personally thank him for helping and guiding me through my first year in our great district. He was immediately kind and welcoming, and I'm very proud to call him my friend, but I said this in the back room, and I'm going to say it again, that he is by far the best example of how educators should engage with the school community. Lots of people just take it for granted that he's at everything. And what people don't really know, or what they might not be aware of, is not only does he attend everything, but he plans and schedules most of the events that take place at the high school and certainly on our campus. When we start talking about big events, it's really Mr. Bosher that organized them. I'm also a huge advocate of engaging with school and community stakeholders, and upon accepting the superintendency, I quickly learned the best way to integrate myself into the Tunkhannock community was to do as Bosher does. And he's very good at his job, and someone will have very large shoes to fill in that role. But I'm happy to be one of the first to wish both Todd and Debbie well wishes when they both leave us at the end of the school year. So congratulations on your retirements, and thank you very much.
Is that it? You good? My question, Mr. Bosher, is the student that runs the Toddy Stand Instagram account, will he be coming to your house every day to maintain that, or are you going to take over? Okay. Well, another disappointment. Just keep laying them on us tonight. All right. Thank you, Superintendent Doherty. And it was very nice to see you travel down there to see our band. I'm not sure that I'm aware of any other superintendent that has taken that step to do that. And I know when Superintendent Doherty walked up to where the band was staging, all of the kids lit up, and they were like, "Mr. Doherty!" And they wanted him to yell and chant and do all these things. And yeah, you could tell it meant a lot to the kids that he had taken those steps. So thank you for doing that. All right, with that, we're going to move on to the public comment section of our agenda, the first one. And we'll review our ground rule policies for these comment periods now. We all have 2 public comment periods during tonight's meeting, 1 public comment on agenda items at the beginning of the meeting, and 1 public comment on any items at the end of the meeting. There's a 4-minute limit per person per public comment period. When it's your turn to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name, municipality, and which agenda items you're speaking about. All speakers must be residents, taxpayers, students, or staff of the TASD. To object to board action under Title 65, Part 2, Chapter 7 of the Sunshine Act, please go to the mic, state your name, as well as the section and subsection of Chapter 7 you believe is being violated. The presiding officer and/or district solicitor will make a determination on the stated objection. That determination is final for the purposes tonight. Groups or individuals not residing within the district should email their comments to school board president in advance of the scheduled meeting, and if they'd like to register interest to speak at a board meeting. Please hold any questions, comments, or clarifications that arise during the board deliberation until public comment period at the end of the meeting. And with that, we'll open the floor to any public comment on agenda items. Seeing none, we'll move on to the agenda. All right. Item 5, the enrollments are there for everybody's information. Item 6, approval of minutes from the January 19th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 7, business and finance. Do we have a motion for items number 1 through 6?
Motion to approve 1 through 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
No.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 8, the superintendent's report.
I'd like to recommend a resolution be adopted approving the personnel report as presented, which includes the retirement of Mrs. Johnson and Mr. Bosher.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question on the extracurricular appointments, if anyone can answer. I know Kenny's not here. Track coaches. It looks as if there's 3 track coaches, and then Miss Angela Colbinson is also listed. I'm assuming she's a throws coach. Todd, do you know? Okay, so that was my question. There is no specific throws coach. Okay.
No, there is not. That is still open.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that.
Yes.
Because I know there's a specific position about throws.
Correct.
No, I know, I got you. Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to Mrs. Johnson. She was a teacher to 2 of my children. I think 2. I don't think it was all 3, but thank you for that work and then your service to the district. And thank you to Mr. Bosher. So he has the opportunity to work with all of my family in one way or another. So it's really been a pleasure working with you, Todd. And, you know, my wife and I walk the dog a lot on Saturday and Sundays, and Todd is usually here on Saturdays and Sundays, even if there's not sporting events. I'll always remember it was like Easter Sunday afternoon or something like that, and we were out walking the dogs, and Todd was out patrolling the grounds. And you know, like Paul said, you're really dedicated and care about this community, and so that will definitely be missed. I wish you the best of luck in retirement. You know, I'm sad to see you go. But I really am overjoyed when I see folks leave at a young age. That way you and your wife and family can enjoy that. So congratulations, Todd.
I'm also disappointed to see you leaving. Did a fabulous job. You've got shoes that I don't see anybody filling, actually. Some people will attempt, but they won't fill the entire shoe by any means. Couldn't have asked for a better principal. Thank you.
You could always shock them and say no.
We can slice that out, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
With regrets, yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Okay. Committee reports. Do we have any committees that are needing to plan any meetings?
Did we?
Oh, sorry, number 2.
Number 2, I'd like to recommend a resolution that the following be adopted approving conference attendance as listed there in A and B.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
No.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
No.
Mrs. Eckerd?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Now committee reports. There's no okay. Okay, moving along to unfinished business. We have item 1, recommend that a resolution be adopted approving the second reading of the following policies as listed there in the board book.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Pavola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 2, review of the fuel cap for transportation contractors.
Dr. Supan's gonna address that.
Wake up.
Just paying attention.
The answer is yes.
The last time we hit the cap was November 30th. We haven't hit it since that billing cycle, November 15th to the 30th. Everything's paid up. Since then, we paid that in December. As of February 15th, diesel's 403, fuel, gas is 286. We're nowhere near the cap. So, if the board's still comfortable where we're at with the fuel cap, I think it's still safe to stay status quo with everything.
I think we agreed the last time we had discussion, we're going to keep looking at this as we
Yes.
progress.
Yeah, but the way we passed the motion last time was to keep it the same. We don't need any action.
Right.
It would only be action to change it.
We'll look at this again in 3 months again, just in case.
Yeah, that's what we have, every 3 months to look at it. But like I said, we haven't hit it since the 30th of November.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
So
Excellent.
no action is necessary tonight. Okay.
No.
Okay, we move on to new business. Do we have any new right-to-know requests?
We do. So far in 22-23, we've received 55 right-to-know requests. 30 additional right-to-know requests were received since our last board meeting. 46 in total have been fulfilled or partially denied. There are 9 current right-to-know requests that are still outstanding, yet to be fulfilled. At the start of the day, we had 3 outstanding appeals with the Office of Open Records. There's now 2 outstanding appeals. We were just notified that the district was justified in a denial per the Office of Open Records. So we still have 2 current outstanding appeals with the Office of Open Records. And thus far, we've been billed $5,952 on legal fees, vetting right-to-know responses.
2 questions about that. 1, that does not include the paid time of people in the district working on these requests, right? That's just billed legal hours?
That's correct.
And how many of the appeals overall have we lost?
0.
Okay, just making sure.
So if I can just ask for the right-to-know request, when we hear the cost, that's just our legal expenses.
Last year, our legal expenses were approximately, I want to say, about $90,000 with right-to-know requests. That did not include any of the hours spent by Mrs. Lawson, who prepares a lot of the documents to be sent out. Mrs. Egan, our Assistant Superintendent, Mrs. Egan, is our right-to-know officer. She spends a good deal of time, and there's an extensive amount of time that our IT department has to allocate because most of the right-to-know requests involve some type of system search.
So is there any way, I would look at that as an indirect cost to the taxpayers.
There's no
So,
question.
once again, the right-to-know request, what do we get, 50 just this year?
55.
Okay, so is there any way that we can get an idea of indirect costs to the taxpayers for these right-to-know requests?
Certainly.
I think if we look back and we know what the salaries are of our employees, they're taking time away from their regular duties
Yes,
to fulfill these. And from what I heard, we've won all the appeals.
correct.
So it's not that Mr. Audi, and no offense, John, but we're making legal errors. And every time these rights, we have to respond in legal language. When I would see these things, there's all this legal language. So it's not that, and no offense, Paul or Mary Jean, that you can't write this up. It's got to be a legal response. So I think
Yes.
it'd be nice for the taxpayers, and at least for me, to know how much are these things really costing the district?
Right, because there are exceptions to the right-to-know laws. So like, when someone wants an email search, for instance, well, those emails have to be, not every type of email is made available. So if you're talking about something that's protected, so if I have an email particularly to Mr. Audi, it's protected by attorney-client privilege, like that would not be released. So we have to have that vetted as to what gets released and what gets held back.
Okay. I'd be interested in that. I don't know how other board
It's
members feel.
extensive. I'm going to tell you this week alone, we're probably in 20 plus hours of manpower. But we could start kind of tracking it and figure out, get a rough number.
Are we
It's
still-
extensive.
Are we still maintaining the list on the website of all the different right-to-knows, like who asked for them, what the subject was?
Yes.
Okay,
I see Mrs. Lawson nodding, so I'll
so
just
that's
say
still
yes.
available for anybody who's interested on the
I
district
agree, I want to
website?
see it though, because we're coming up with a preliminary budget that'll have a discussion around tax increases, and there's money being spent on this that is directed away from education.
Well, the $90,000 last year equates to about a third of a mil.
Right, it's a third of a mil right there, just
That's just in legal fees.
direct
That was
cost.
literal checks written, that's not even our indirect fees.
That's not an indirect cost. Okay. I think
Right,
that
I
has
mean,
to be
right,
looked at.
the right-to-knows typically involve Mrs. Egan, Mrs. Lawson, our IT department, and our business office.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, under new business, item 2, the visas count is there for everybody's information, as well as number 3, the summary of the Kelly Services substitute teacher fill rate. Item 4, the approval of the student overnight out-of-state field trips as listed, the PMEA Regional Chorus, which that is going on today and tomorrow through Friday, but that,
They did not go today, obviously, because of the weather. They'll be traveling tomorrow.
okay. That's on here because it would have been on the meeting agenda last week before the trip was scheduled, but our meeting got pushed to this week, so.
Yes.
And they didn't know that they were going
Right.
prior. And then the senior class trip to Ocean City, New Jersey on May 26th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd,
Yes.
Mr. Franco,
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel,
Yes.
Dr. Perbola,
Yes.
Mr. Farr,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold.
Yes. Item 6, approval of the elimination of bus 41 from Smarkuski Busing.
About 5.
Oh, okay, sorry. Item 5, approval of the bus van contracts as presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Abstain.
Mrs. Eckerd,
Yes.
Mr. Franco,
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel,
Yes.
Dr. Perbola,
Yes.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Farr,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold.
Yes. All right, that was just a test drive. Now we're coming back to number 6 for real. The approval of the elimination of bus 41 from Smarkuski Busing. The route will be combined with the routes of bus 35 and bus 51.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eckerd,
Yes.
Mr. Franco,
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel,
Yes.
Dr. Perbola,
Yes.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mr. Farr,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold.
Yes. Item number 7, the approval of budget transfers as listed. There's
Motion.
4.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Eckerd,
Yes.
Mr. Franco,
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel,
Yes.
Dr. Perbola,
Yes.
Mr. Widener,
Yes.
Mr. Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett,
Yes.
Mr. Farr,
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold.
Yes. Item number 8, the 23-24 fuel oil bid.
Dr. Suppan, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is just our fuel oil going out to bid with KPN, Keystone Purchasing Network. And John, if I miss anything, hop up here. But they'll put it out to bid for a fixed and adjustable variable. This will give us our best price than going through anything private. Normally we have reserve in our tanks, and we kind of ran them down low in regard to quantity, just because we thought we'd be hooked up to gas at this point. but we're about a year behind, so we're gonna have to refill these tanks. So they'll put them out at the quantity of the tank, just out to bid to get the best price possible. And we kind of go from there. Like I said, through KPN, we'll get a better price than going through the private. So we'll just go out to bid.
So this is just us putting it out to bid?
Yeah, through KPN.
Permission to put it out to bid?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, don't we specify?
We have to commit to the number of gallons.
It will specify by the amount of gallons per tank and the location of the school.
So you're recommending a total of 7,500?
By 7,500 gallons, the tanker holds, it has to be divisible by 7,500 because that's what the tanker holds per gallon.
So what's the amount that we're proposing? Do we have to come up with an amount? John, is there an amount that we have to talk about tonight? Okay.
John, will you come up to the mic so if anybody's watching at home, they could hear it?
55,000 gallons. I think that's was it 55,000? It was lower than the
52.5.
previous
I
year.
think it was 52,500 last year is what
Isn't
we,
even 7,500 tank.
I would anticipate moving into next year that we'd probably be around 60. So the year-over-year average, if you look at the last 5 years, and, COVID was in there for one, it was about 80,925. Now, 17, 18, 18, and 19 were extremely high, and then we started to see a significant change from the end of 18 to present. So we average around 75.
So the last time we spoke about this, we held back a little bit because we thought the natural gas was going to be hooked up, but we're not, we're still about a year behind on that?
Just because of, we're going through the RFPs right now. The bids are going to be received actually next month and be presented to you, but the equipment, purchasing the equipment, their lead time is so great.
So, John, your recommendation from your department is 60,000 gallons?
That would be my recommendation.
And we're not going to get stuck with it,
We
just
won't.
in that amount?
No.
We're going to be able to
And-
use that? Okay.
Yeah, and the way that the middle school will be converted, we'll still be able to burn oil if we
Okay,
needed to,
okay.
so we have plenty of space.
So Christine's email said 67,500 was what the way this is written.
That's what's in the book, too.
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
So 60, I mean, we're going to use it. It's not a matter of we're going to be
Yeah, I
holding
think
back.
I think what we normally would do is give two options. I think
Okay.
that's the way we've always done it. High end would be 67.5, and then
Okay.
kind of the median would be
But
60.
you're not worried about getting stuck with it
No.
because we could burn it?
No.
Okay.
I think it's a good opportunity for us to save some money, because we certainly don't want to be on the open market, and I don't see the oil price going down anytime soon. If you look at the last year, we were a little higher, which was 2021. I think we took advantage of the end of the year with oil prices being, I think it was like $1.21 or something, if I remember right. So it was significantly lower. I think right now, I want to say we're at $3.19 a gallon. That was what we got KPN for, and there's a variance there. So if there's a change, they give them some wiggle room to go up a few cents or down if it drops.
And John, some of the buildings, our main type of fuel is still gonna be fuel oil, even
Correct.
with the gas hookup. So like,
Yeah,
we're gonna
so-
burn it. It's not all gonna be gas.
Right.
Yeah.
So really, the only change that we'll see is at the middle school, because the administration building will still remain oil, at least for now. And of course, we'll swap over the middle school, Mahoopeny's oil, so that'll stay the same.
Okay, the concerns I have, John, the project won't be done.
Yeah.
We can get through another year with the oil bid without the project.
Right,
Before
so-
the project, correct?
Right now, the lead times that we've seen on the HVAC equipment it's a 9-month lead, so there's no way that we would be able to get the conversion and get the materials in to finish the project in time for
And
this.
looking at this, we are still owed one tanker load. We bid 52.5.
Correct.
We're only at
Yeah.
45, so we got
Act-
a load,
That tanker load went into,
we'll go into the middle school probably.
it did, it went into the middle school after you got
Now, will that
updated.
carry us pretty close to the summer?
We'll be very close. I think we may have to do one more load. That would probably be it. And I may split it, because at the end of the year, usually I'll split a load if we do get close.
I mean, I was talking to Christine, and we've been pretty good. We've had to buy some on the open market.
Minimal.
But it's not been much lately.
It-
Several years ago, it did hit a high spot.
Yeah, I think we've been managing the fuel oil. I think, the way that we've been going about it has worked pretty well. I don't think we've incurred any, extravagant cost at the end of the season.
And if I understood her right, if we bid more than we can hold, we top our tanks off at the end of June, and what we can't get in, that's
Right.
theirs.
Yeah.
We've lost that on that way.
Yep. If you look at it though, Bill, just kind of to give you, if you look at it year over year, for the last 5 years, it's 80,925 gallons. So, I mean, I don't think we'll ever get back to that level. I think we've become a much more efficient and made some significant maintenance improvements that have really dropped the numbers
Yes.
down. So I don't think that we'll see that happen again. And I don't know if you remember, but back in 17 and 18, those numbers were really inflated because I don't think the boiler, especially at the middle school, they never got shut off over the summer because the smaller boiler for the hot water was never running properly.
Right.
So we kind of got that, we got that back online. So the summers, things are shut down, main boilers, and we do a little bit better job of managing it from that standpoint.
No, I'm glad to see the numbers coming down. The rolling average is still up there, but the numbers are,
Yeah,
we're getting better at this.
yeah.
I, just for clarification's sake, because there are a couple different numbers that were thrown out there as options, I would look at it as though the first motion that we have here is for the one that is specifically the way that it's written in the book. So if we want to consider a lower number, then I think we either need to do an amendment of this motion or vote this one down and then make a motion to accept the different one.
I'm good with 67.5 based on what I'm hearing.
Okay.
I'm good with that based on what we got.
I didn't hear, but what's the recommended number?
67.5.
67.5.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the table for the 67.5 as it's written in the board book. Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Nobody made a motion.
Oh, all right,
Motion
nobody made a
approved.
motion.
Second.
Got a motion in a second now. It's my first day, sorry.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 9, resolution to approve the Luzerne Intermediate Unit's general operating budget for 23-24.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. Item 10, motion to approve an application and certificate for payment for Manglavidi HVAC for $21,600 for the emergency replacement of a high school hot water heater.
Motion to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I would just like to point out that I came up here that day when the water was leaking, that when Mr. Bosher kind of found it, and the unit is massive. They took it out today. It has to weigh, I couldn't even tell you how much it weighs. And the one that went back in there, the water heater, is fractional in size. Like it was in a huge room, and then when I went back and saw the new one installed, it was like a tenth of the size of the one that was taken out. It was shocking.
Yeah, well, the original ones, they were stone lined. They probably had about 3 inches of stone lining inside the steel.
It was, well, they got it out today, Director Widener.
Okay, any other discussion? Did somebody make a motion? All right, we're good there. Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Pervola?
Yes.
Mr. Weidner?
Yes.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Mrs. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eckert?
Yes.
Mr. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Goebel?
Yes.
Mr. Farr?
Yes.
Mrs. Arnold?
Yes. All right, and with that, are there any other additional public comments?
I have one. One night I attended the home girls' basketball game. There was a malfunction with the PA system. I just want to thank the girls. They just waited a second and come off with a national anthem, and everybody joined in, and it was really nice.
probably need to check into that system, because I feel like that happens a couple times a season for all the different sports. And it's great that our community jumps in like that, but,
The girls
you know,
just out there in court and just started and it took off.
it's good to hear. Any other public comment? Any other board comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We got a second. Meeting adjourned.